For people that haven't heard of the Labyrinth, it was one of the ancient wonders of the world. Like, this was described by Herodotus and Pliny the Elder and Strabo and all these historical figures that saw it. Herodotus described it as exceeding in splendor and wonder that of the pyramids. Like, this was the Labyrinth was this sort of 1,000-room structure that was supposedly just absolutely magnificent. You could have fit all of the temples of Karnak and Luxor and all of the temples of Egypt into its footprint. That was just lost to the sands of time. We've never known where it is or what it is. And it would be like a pyramid. It would rival the Great Pyramid, for sure, if we were to find it. But it turns out we found it.
Nestled near the Fayum oasis, the Hawara Pyramid site may appear unremarkable today, but to ancient historians it was a place of awe and grandeur. Herodotus, often called the father of history, described it in terms that still leave modern scholars in awe. He recounted that compared to the labyrinth he encountered, even the grandest Greek temples and pyramids paled in both effort and expense. It was a structure of such enormous scale and complexity that it surpassed even the famous pyramids of Egypt. For centuries, however, many dismissed his account as fanciful or exaggerated, especially given Herodotus's reputation for embellishment. However, as time passed, more of his descriptions have been vindicated, particularly regarding his accounts of Lake Moeris near Hawara. He spoke of two pyramids rising nearly 93 meters above the surface of the water, each crowned with a seated stone statue. In the late 19th century, famed British archaeologist Flinders Petrie confirmed the presence of two seated colossi, each about 18 meters high and made of hard quartzite sandstone. This discovery was one of many that would lend credence to Herodotus's words. The site of the Hawara Pyramid holds far more than just these statues. When researchers began to investigate the pyramid itself, they unearthed evidence of remarkable ancient engineering. Despite its present appearance, a crumbling pile of dark mud, the pyramid conceals a megalithic core built with astounding precision. Beneath its decayed exterior, the masonry is of exceptional quality, with blocks fitted so tightly that not even a blade could slip between them. This core represents two distinct types of ancient technologies. One, the megalithic stone core, and the other, a more fragile mud brick construction that has long since crumbled. Flinders Petrie, a pioneer in the study of ancient Egyptian architecture, was the first to delve into this mystery in detail. He noted that the stone casing of the pyramid had been removed during Roman times, leaving the interior exposed to the elements. Unlike other pyramids of the time, the entrance to this one was on the south side, not the north, and lay at ground level. It was designed with descending passages that had ramps on both sides, resembling a system for moving heavy cargo. This unique layout distinguished the Hawara Pyramid from others in Egypt, leading Petrie to believe that its original purpose may have been different from typical pyramids. One of the most astonishing aspects of the structure is its system of trapdoors. Massive stone slabs weighing around 20 tons each, designed to seal off passageways. Petrie discovered 3 such trapdoors, all of which had been left open. His exploration of the pyramid led him to a central chamber carved from a single block of quartzite sandstone, forming a large tank-like structure in which a sarcophagus was placed. This colossal monolith, weighing over 110 tons, had been hewn with such precision, Petrie marveled at the technical skill required to carve and place such an enormous block of stone into a carefully excavated hollow. What truly puzzled Petrie, however, was the design of the tomb itself. There was no visible entrance, and the only way the pharaoh's body could have been placed inside would have been during the construction of the pyramid. Even more curiously, no inscriptions were found inside the chamber or on the sarcophagus, a rarity for a royal tomb. Instead, Petrie found only traces of charred bones, charcoal, and remnants of burnt diorite, suggesting that whatever had once been inside the sarcophagus had been deliberately destroyed by fire. The mystery deepened when Petrie examined a second sarcophagus in the chamber, one that appeared to have been added after the pyramid's construction. This later addition was smaller and lacked the technical precision of the original sarcophagus, raising questions about the purpose and timeline of the additions to the tomb. It was as though the pyramid had been used for multiple, distinct purposes over time, each contributing to its enigmatic history. While Petrie focused on the pyramid, he also uncovered evidence of a much larger structure nearby. The legendary Labyrinth of Egypt, which had long been mentioned in ancient texts. Herodotus had described it as a massive complex of 3,000 rooms, arranged in a maze-like formation, some above ground and others below. He was forbidden from entering the underground chambers, as they were said to house the tombs of kings and sacred crocodiles. Yet what Herodotus saw above ground left him awestruck, and later historians would echo his astonishment. Strabo, a Greek geographer who visited the site centuries later, described the labyrinth's monolithic ceilings and walls, each constructed from enormous slabs of stone. When Petrie began excavating the area in front of the Hawara Pyramid, he uncovered evidence of this labyrinth beneath the remains of a later village. Beneath the village, he found layers of stone chips and fragments, the remains of what had once been an enormous stone structure. He concluded that this was indeed the foundation of the fabled labyrinth. His findings aligned with the ancient accounts. The structure was so large that, as he noted, it could have contained the temples of Karnak and Luxor within its boundaries. However, the labyrinth had long since been destroyed, its stones quarried and repurposed by later generations. All that remained were the foundations and fragments, a ghost of the massive structure that had once stood there. And yet, despite the extensive damage, Petrie's findings suggested that this labyrinth had been far more than just a building. It was a monumental work of engineering and architecture that had once awed the ancient world. As we delve deeper into the mysteries of Hawara, it becomes clear that this site still holds secrets waiting to be uncovered. The labyrinth described by Herodotus, Strabo, and other classical writers may not be entirely lost. In fact, modern technology has revealed tantalizing clues that suggest much of it may still lie hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be rediscovered. In the 21st century, new technologies have allowed researchers to explore the Hawara site in ways that Petrie could only have dreamed of. Ground-penetrating radar and other advanced tools have given archaeologists the ability to peer beneath the surface without disturbing the ancient ruins. One such expedition in 2008, led by the Mataja project, a team of geophysicists, used radar technology to investigate the area beneath what Petrie had identified as the foundation of the labyrinth. What they discovered was nothing short of remarkable, a vast network of walls and chambers buried deep beneath the surface. Their findings suggested that what Petrie had thought was a foundation might actually have been the roof of the labyrinth, which could still exist underground. The radar scans revealed a grid of rooms and passageways at depths of 8 to 12 meters, confirming the existence of a colossal structure that matched the descriptions given by ancient historians. Despite the significance of these findings, the news was met with unexpected resistance. Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, led by Zahi Hawass, requested that the results be withheld from the public, citing concerns about national security. The Mataja team faced delays and obstacles, but after 2 years, they were finally able to publish their report. Their findings supported the ancient accounts of a labyrinth that was far larger than any temple known in Egypt, a structure that had remained hidden beneath the sands for millennia. The labyrinth's complexity and scale raised even more questions about its purpose. Why would such an enormous structure be built underground, and what was it used for? Some researchers speculated that it could have been a secret repository, a place where valuable artifacts or knowledge were stored. Others suggested that it might have served as a ceremonial or religious center, its labyrinthine corridors and chambers designed to disorient and awe those who entered. One of the most intriguing aspects of the labyrinth is its apparent age. The orientation of the structure, which is tilted by 20 to 25 degrees compared to the nearby Hawara Pyramid, suggests that it may be much older than the pyramid itself. If this is true, it raises the possibility that the labyrinth predates the pharaohs and could be a relic of a much earlier civilization. Despite the advances in technology, many mysteries remain unsolved. The subterranean chambers have yet to be fully explored, and no one knows what lies within them. Could the labyrinth still contain treasures or texts from an ancient era? Could it hold clues to the origins of the Egyptians or even earlier cultures that inhabited the region? For now, these questions remain unanswered, as the labyrinth remains buried beneath layers of earth and time.
Like, if you go back to the sophistication of ancient Egypt and you think about what the civilization could have been like, I mean, you're just speculating, you're just trying to just imagine how they could have moved these 500-ton stone blocks 500 miles. You're putting all these things into your mind, and then say, how long does it take to get from that, if you knock back into barbarians, how long does it take to get from that to where we are now? This level of sophistication that allows you to get to the pyramids, and then we're nowhere near that now. So even on the most conservative speculation that the Great Pyramid is only 4,500 years ago, we're not even anywhere near that now.
In the ancient city of Luxor, hidden within its majestic temple walls, lies a mystery that challenges modern understanding of ancient Egypt's science and philosophy. Egyptologist Shwala de Lubitsch, after 12 years of detailed study of the Temple of Luxor, proposed that the ancient Egyptians held a sophisticated and immutable knowledge, fully developed from the earliest dynasties. This knowledge, according to de Lubitsch, far surpassed that of other civilizations at the time, hinting at a deeper understanding of the universe. De Lubitsch's research into the temple's intricate carvings and architectural design led him to a remarkable discovery, which he called transparency in the stone blocks. While copying temple plans and examining wall carvings, he noticed tiny embedded stones in larger blocks, which had been previously dismissed as errors. De Lubitsch proposed that these stones were markers placed by the master builders for precise measurements. This realization spurred adjustments in his own measurements, leading to even more astonishing findings. He observed that carvings on opposite sides of some walls seemed to align in impossible ways, as if the stone between them was transparent, allowing the design to flow through. This phenomenon, which de Lubitsch likened to a see-through banknote, suggested a level of craftsmanship and intentionality that defied conventional understanding of ancient architecture. The temple's carvings could only be fully appreciated when viewed as a continuous design, transcending the physical stone. One striking example of this transparency is between Room 12 and Room 5 in the Temple of Luxor. A stone block separating these rooms features carvings that seem to project through the stone itself. In Room 12, a hieroglyph for cloth is carved, while in Room 5, a box for cloths appears. The two images fitting together as if the stone was transparent. The technical precision needed to achieve this effect raises profound questions about the knowledge and skills of the ancient builders. De Lubitsch's discoveries extended beyond transparency. He also identified transposition, where symbols and carvings were arranged across different parts of the temple to create multi-dimensional connections. For instance, Montu's solar disk in Room 2 is projected into the shrine of Amun-Ra's boat in Room 6. The boat's content is hidden, requiring the observer to explore multiple spaces to understand the intended meaning. These techniques suggest a level of philosophical and scientific depth in ancient Egyptian culture that modern Egyptology had long overlooked. De Lubitsch argued that the Egyptians weren't just concealing knowledge in their architecture, but were presenting a more profound, spatial form of understanding. By dividing concepts across different parts of the temple, the Egyptians created an environment where knowledge was experienced holistically, rather than as isolated facts or images. In his groundbreaking work on the Temple of Luxor, De Lubitsch revealed an entirely new architectural grammar. This grammar, found in the block's shapes, joints, and symbolic overlays, turned the Egyptian temple into a living library of knowledge, accessible only through deep study. His discoveries redefined how scholars approached ancient Egyptian architecture, leading to a re-evaluation of the intellectual achievements of this ancient civilization. The most revolutionary aspect of De Lubitsch's work was the realization that the meaning of inscriptions and symbols on one wall couldn't be fully understood without considering their relationships to the carvings around them. This interconnectivity suggested a three-dimensional approach to knowledge that engaged the observer on multiple levels. For De Lubitsch, the true purpose of transparency and transposition was not only to complete an idea, but to clarify it in a way that transcended traditional communication methods. As we explore the mysteries of the Temple of Luxor, it becomes clear that the ancient Egyptians had a unique understanding of art and science. Their use of transparency and transposition reflected a worldview that connected the physical and metaphysical, the material and immaterial. Transparency, in particular, hinted at a belief that solid matter was deceptive, with light, or knowledge itself, as the true fundamental reality. De Lubitsch's discoveries at the Temple of Luxor did more than challenge traditional views of Egyptian architecture. They opened the door to a new understanding of how the Egyptians viewed the world. Through transparency and transposition, De Lubitsch uncovered a sophisticated system of thought that extended beyond the temple. He believed that this system could be found in other artifacts, such as papyri, which contained multi-layered meanings to be understood holistically. Transparency, for example, was more than an architectural technique. It represented a deeper philosophical belief. By prioritizing light over solid matter, the Egyptians expressed a worldview that saw physical reality as secondary to the metaphysical. De Lubitsch suggested that this belief in the primacy of light explains why transparency was central to the Temple of Luxor's design. The stone blocks weren't just barriers, but conduits for knowledge and understanding. Transposition added yet another dimension to this philosophy, emphasizing the importance of seeing beyond the surface. To understand the temple fully, one had to move through it, experiencing the connections between different spaces and symbols. This design reflected an understanding of spatial awareness and perception that resonates with modern psychological theories, such as Gestalt. Gestalt psychology, which emerged in the early 20th century, focuses on the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Human perception organizes individual elements into a unified whole, rather than analyzing each part in isolation. De Lubitsch's work mirrors this idea, as he argued that the carvings and inscriptions in the temple were part of a larger, interconnected system. Just as Gestalt theory emphasizes the importance of perceiving the overall form, De Lubitsch focused on perceiving the entire meaning of the temple. De Lubitsch's discoveries lead to profound questions. Who were the true sources of this knowledge? Were the Egyptians responsible for developing these advanced ideas, or were they inheritors of wisdom passed down from an even older civilization? And what can these ancient ideas teach us about the nature of reality? By connecting ancient Egyptian concepts with modern scientific theories, we uncover new insights into the mysteries of the past, and the possibility that the answers to our most profound questions may lie not in the future, but in the distant past.
You're looking at the limestone interior of the Abu Ruwash Pyramid, and this is the core, and we can descend into the core in this unique structure, unlike the other pyramids
Oh my God, what's this? Wow. Oh. Very deep pit. That looks to me like a boat pit.
No way. Look at these lines. Look at these striations.
Exactly.
Look at these striations.
And also the higher parts and the lower parts shows that it was not all cut at once.
Exactly.
It was like,
especially here. This
here and here.
Exactly.
Yeah, here and there.
Exactly. You can see where the blade came back.
And we're talking about red granite from Aswan. How did they bring it up here? We are here in a mountainous region.
The Giza Plateau is one of the most iconic and mysterious ancient sites on Earth, home to the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, and numerous other relics of antiquity. It has captured the imaginations of explorers, historians, and enthusiasts for centuries. While many can easily picture the grandeur of these structures, few realize that these monuments are still steeped in mystery. Despite centuries of study, questions remain unanswered about who built them, and more intriguingly, why. Just 5 miles to the southwest of Giza, within the lesser-known necropolis of Zawyet El Aryan, lies a site that may hold the key to solving some of Egypt's greatest mysteries. In May 1900, Italian architect and Egyptologist Alessandro Barsanti was researching the Layer Pyramid at Zawyet El Aryan. Having previously discovered the tomb of Akhenaten, Barsanti had earned a respected reputation in his field. However, the Layer Pyramid disappointed him. It was crumbling, incomplete, and devoid of artifacts. Like other Egyptologists before him, Barsanti concluded the pyramid had been abandoned due to the death of the king who commissioned it. Discouraged, Barsanti began his return journey to Giza, but he took an alternative route along an upper plateau, offering sweeping views of the landscape. It was here that he noticed something unusual: scattered granite fragments and fine granite powder, evidence of stone cutting. Barsanti immediately suspected this was where ancient workers had prepared stone for a hidden tomb. Intrigued, Barsanti returned to Giza and assembled a team to explore the site. Within 2 days of excavation, his intuition proved correct. Beneath the sand, Barsanti uncovered the entrance to an enormous limestone pit. To his surprise, the pit was filled with large limestone blocks, each weighing several tons, seemingly thrown in without care, suggesting a deliberate attempt to conceal what lay below. On December 8th, at a depth of 21 meters, the team uncovered a significant find: a large pink granite block. Granite was not only more valuable than limestone, but also harder to work with, reserved for only the most important structures. This discovery convinced Barsanti that they had found something special. As excavation continued, more pink granite blocks were revealed, suggesting a massive subterranean structure. By February 1905, Barsanti and his team uncovered a 30-ton granite block that seemed to mark the bottom of the pit. Barsanti believed this was the entrance to a subterranean world, potentially filled with tombs and treasures. Complicating the mystery, his team also found inscriptions carved into the stones. Despite sending sketches to Egyptologists in Giza and Cairo, no one could agree on their meaning or origin. This deepened Barsanti's conviction that something extraordinary was hidden below. Barsanti used machinery to move the granite blocks, but they were interlocked like puzzle pieces. Digging further, Barsanti made his most astonishing discovery yet: an oval-shaped vat carved from pink granite, polished to a mirror-like finish. It had been carefully sealed with layers of lime and clay. When the team removed the lid, they found no treasure, only a thin black residue along the walls. Barsanti hypothesized that the vat once contained a liquid offering that had evaporated over time. Despite the disappointment, Barsanti believed the mysterious vat held great significance. Why had the builders gone to such lengths to protect it? Determined to solve the puzzle, Barsanti continued his excavation, uncovering a massive cork-like granite block, sealing off what he believed were hidden chambers below. Word of Barsanti's discoveries spread, but many of his colleagues remained skeptical. They insisted the pit was merely the foundation of an unfinished pyramid. However, Barsanti pressed on, and 2 events seemed to support his theory. First, his team uncovered a well-finished staircase at the pit's northern end. Too refined for laborers, as if it led to ceremonial chambers. Then, a torrential rainstorm flooded the pit, only for the water level to drop suddenly, as if it had seeped into a hidden chamber below. Despite mounting obstacles, including the complex interlocking granite blocks and dwindling funds, Barsanti continued his work. By 1906, however, he ran out of money and had to stop the excavation. He spent years searching for new funding and finally secured it in 1911. Yet even with renewed efforts, the work proved too difficult. And once again, Barsanti was forced to abandon the project before uncovering what lay beneath the pit. He died in 1917, leaving the mystery unresolved. Barsanti's work sparked a lingering curiosity about Zawyet El Aryan, but the site lay dormant for decades after his death. In the 1950s, it briefly resurfaced as the set for the movie The Land of the Pharaohs, but it was soon forgotten again. Barsanti's notes eventually caught the attention of Italian scholars Vito Maragioglio and Celeste Rinaldi, who set out to continue his work in the 1960s. However, their efforts were cut short when, in 1964, the Egyptian government restricted access to Zawyet El Aryan, designating it as a military base. This abrupt restriction of access raised suspicions. Why was the government blocking off this site just as interest in it was reviving? To this day, many Egyptologists assert there is no mystery at Zawyet El Aryan, claiming the pit is simply the foundation of an unfinished pyramid. Yet Barsanti, who studied Egypt's ancient wonders for decades, was adamant that this was no ordinary pyramid foundation. If the pit was just a foundation, why go to such lengths to construct a floor made of interlocking granite blocks, held together by strong mortar and designed to be nearly impossible to move? Furthermore, why use valuable pink granite, which had to be transported from Aswan, nearly 600 miles away, if the structure was to be buried under a pyramid? Limestone, far easier to source and work with, would have sufficed. Then, there was the mystery of the inscriptions Barsanti found at the site. Scholars to this day remain divided on their meaning. And what about the finely crafted oval vat? If this was a pyramid foundation, why go to such great lengths to intricately carve this vat, polish it, and seal it with lime and clay? In recent years, a new theory has emerged, connecting the mystery of Zawyet El Aryan to the Great Pyramid of Giza. For centuries, the Great Pyramid has puzzled historians. Conventional wisdom holds that it was built as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, but no human remains, treasures, or artifacts have ever been found inside, leading many to question this explanation. In the 1960s, Edward Kunkel proposed a radical theory. The Great Pyramid was not a tomb, but a massive water pump designed to irrigate the desert. Kunkel argued that the pyramid's internal chambers and passages functioned as part of a hydraulic system. His theory was met with skepticism, but some engineers saw merit in the idea. They pointed out that a ram pump, which uses gravity to move water, could have worked on the scale Kunkel proposed. By the 1990s, marine engineer John Cadman took Kunkel's theory further. He studied the pyramid's subterranean chamber and found signs of water damage. Cadman built a scale model of the pyramid's subterranean chamber and confirmed that it could function as a water pump. His experiments led to an unexpected discovery. The pyramid generated powerful compression waves, pulses that could create electricity. This raised a startling question. Could the ancient Egyptians have used the Great Pyramid to generate electricity? Cadman's research suggested it was possible. The pyramid's outer casing of insulating white limestone, its granite interior, and its gold capstone all pointed to a design capable of generating and harnessing electrical energy. With this new perspective, researchers revisited the mystery of Zawyet El Aryan. Could the pit have been part of an ancient electrical system connected to the Great Pyramid? Some believe the oval vat may have played a key role in this system, with the black residue providing evidence of a long-lost process for generating electricity. Perhaps this is why the Egyptian government sealed off Zawyet El Aryan in the 1960s. What secrets lie beneath the pit? Could it hold proof of an ancient civilization's advanced technology? As research continues, we may one day uncover the truth about an ancient Egypt far more advanced than we ever imagined.
In the boxes in places like the Serapeum, which is probably my favorite site, because there's literally miles of tunnels beneath Saqqara. So it's like a giant underground necropolis. Inside the Serapeum, you have 25 of these things, which are these single-piece, like 100-ton granite boxes. They're insane. It's absolutely insane. And this one in particular is in an off-limits area that we went into that's rarely seen by tourists. We couldn't make the box without developing specific tools to do it, because the way they'd make it is they'd cut like 5 slabs and then bolt them together, you know, like a floor and then 4 walls, and they'd bolt it together into a box. These are single pieces. So what's impressive about that is it's like you have to quarry this one block of stone and then dig it out. You have to dig all of the inside out, and some of the examples of precision in the Serapeum are absolutely remarkable. You have perfect 90-degree corners in some of the boxes, perfect 90-degree interfaces with the lids, and some of these walls maintain that geometry from like being 11 feet apart. Like, that's insane. Like, that's one of the major challenges of this is in designing and maintaining that type of relative geometry in a space where you can't afford to make any mistakes.
The Serapeum of Saqqara, nestled near Cairo, holds one of ancient Egypt's most puzzling enigmas. Enormous granite boxes, often considered to be sarcophagi. These immense boxes, carved from single blocks of granite with an astonishing level of precision, continue to baffle archaeologists, engineers, and historians. How did the ancient Egyptians craft these structures with such detail and accuracy, sparking ongoing debates about their origins? These boxes are far from ordinary stone coffins. Each is crafted from a single block of granite, known for its extreme hardness and difficulty to work with. Some of these boxes, complete with their lids, weigh as much as 70 tons, while the raw blocks they were carved from likely weighed over 200 tons. What's truly remarkable is the precision of the craftsmanship. The corners are perfectly squared, and the surfaces are so smooth they seem to rival modern machinery in accuracy. Achieving this level of exactness, especially millennia ago, raises the question: did the ancient Egyptians possess technology beyond what we've ever imagined? The interior of these boxes is equally awe-inspiring. While the smooth exteriors are impressive enough, the flawless precision on the inside seems even more impossible. How did they hollow out these massive granite blocks with such accuracy, given the tools thought to be available at the time? Copper tools, often credited to the Egyptians, would have been insufficient for the task, and the uniform thickness of the walls suggests the use of sophisticated measurement techniques far ahead of their time. Such uniformity in these boxes is unparalleled in other Egyptian artifacts, leading to more questions. Hollowing out these granite blocks would have required not just immense labor, but an advanced understanding of stone-cutting techniques that we still don't fully comprehend. Conventional explanations, primarily focusing on copper tools, fall short when compared to the remarkable precision of these boxes. How then did the Egyptians achieve this level of perfection? Some theories propose that the builders had access to lost technology, perhaps advanced tools or machinery, now forgotten in the annals of history. Researchers speculate about high-speed drills, diamond-tipped saws, or other sophisticated equipment. The notion of advanced technology in ancient Egypt is controversial, yet the evidence presented by these granite boxes continues to fuel this debate. Adding to the mystery is the question of purpose. While traditionally believed to be sarcophagi for the sacred Apis bulls, the excessive craftsmanship for mere burials raises doubts. Could these boxes have served a more complex function, perhaps related to energy manipulation or another unknown scientific process? This question remains unanswered and continues to intrigue modern researchers. Even transporting these massive boxes presents an engineering challenge. The narrow and winding underground tunnels of the Serapeum would have made moving the 70-ton boxes an extraordinary feat, requiring advanced knowledge of engineering or transportation. Additionally, there are no visible signs of torches or burn marks in the tunnels. How did they light these spaces while moving such colossal objects? Despite the many mysteries, mainstream archaeologists attribute the precision and craftsmanship of the Serapeum boxes to the skill and patience of ancient Egyptian stoneworkers. They argue that, over generations, the Egyptians perfected their techniques, achieving incredible accuracy through dedication rather than technology. Critics of the advanced technology theory maintain that there is no concrete evidence supporting the existence of machines or sophisticated tools during the time these boxes were created. Yet, as more of these boxes are discovered throughout Egypt, the questions multiply. Across the country, similar examples of giant granite boxes exist, each demonstrating the same level of craftsmanship and precision. This suggests the possibility of a forgotten technology, one far beyond what is traditionally accepted in the study of ancient Egypt. One example, found in the Cairo Museum, displays an irregular slanted cut that was likely abandoned due to an error in the process. But this mistake tells more than expected. It reveals the possibility of a highly advanced cutting method. The cut extends deep into the granite, an impossible feat with traditional copper chisels or saws. The precision hints at the use of circular saws or similar tools capable of cutting through granite with speed and accuracy. Traditional theories suggest that the Egyptians used slow copper-based saws to cut granite. However, modern attempts to replicate this technique resulted in an excruciatingly slow cutting rate of only 4 millimeters per hour. At such a pace, it's implausible that ancient artisans wouldn't have corrected the significant deviation seen in the error. The precision of the cut suggests the use of advanced machinery far beyond what is typically attributed to ancient Egypt. Similar saw marks have been observed on other granite boxes, some of which are also displayed at the Cairo Museum. These marks resemble those made by modern band saws, but appear to indicate an even higher operational speed. Contemporary granite cutting saws rely on diamond-encrusted blades, technology believed to be far out of reach for the ancient Egyptians. Yet the marks persist, challenging our understanding of the tools available in that era. Adding to the intrigue are the perfectly round tube drill holes found in various granite artifacts throughout Egypt. The depth and uniformity of these holes suggest the use of advanced drills, possibly equipped with diamond-tipped tools. One of the most striking examples is Core 7, a cylindrical piece of granite discovered near the Great Pyramids. The continuous spiral groove on Core 7 resembles the groove of a vinyl record. In fact, modern machinery that could produce such a result would require high-speed rotation and diamond-tipped tools, technologies not associated with ancient Egypt. Core 7's spiral grooves suggest a force and precision greater than modern power drills, raising the question of whether the Egyptians, or a lost civilization, had access to technology now lost to history. Across Egypt, the evidence of these granite boxes continues to challenge mainstream views. Could these artifacts have been created by a lost civilization with advanced technology? Or are we simply missing a piece of the puzzle regarding how the Egyptians worked with stone? The precision, craftsmanship, and technology evident in these objects suggest that they were made with methods we don't yet understand. The most extraordinary example of precision stonework may be the granite box discovered beneath the pyramid at Lahun. Within a polished granite chamber lies a tilted box with 4 corners so perfectly aligned that modern measurement tools reveal almost no discrepancy. Another similar box was found at Mastaba 17, buried beneath a pile of mud bricks. Both examples display precision that raises questions about their origin and purpose. Could these boxes have been repurposed by the Egyptians, who may have inherited them from a lost civilization. The mystery of these granite boxes remains unsolved. Could they represent the remnants of a prehistoric civilization with knowledge far beyond our current understanding? Perhaps this explains why these objects were later used by the Egyptians for seemingly simple purposes like sarcophagi, because they, like us today, did not fully understand their true purpose.
Thoth talks in the Emerald Tablets about being able to go into these halls of Amenti where he had rejuvenation chambers, which is what I believe is the Serapeum in Saqqara. And he would go into these gigantic stone boxes, and he would then transfer his consciousness from his body into another body. And he would leave the body that he left inside of one of those gigantic boxes, one of those gigantic diorite stone boxes for 100 years while it recharged itself and rejuvenated, while he said he walks amongst men but unlike a man. And he would do this for eons. He would transfer from body to body, not bodies he stole, bodies he created, that he created himself through probably some of the advanced form of stem cell technology. And he would walk amongst men but unlike a man, and he was known all around the planet. And it's an incredible tablet that talks about the reigns of kings.
Yeah.
Some kings ruled for 28,800 years, 14,000 years. I mean, 20,000. If the numbers are insane.
These are not Egyptian?
This is no, not Egyptian. These are Anunnaki.
Imagine a world where time itself is a malleable force, where the boundary between life and death blurs, and immortality is no longer a dream, but a carefully guarded secret. This is the legend of Thoth, the mysterious god of wisdom from ancient Egypt. He is said to have discovered the key to eternal life, not through mysticism, but through methods that defy modern understanding. Could the ancient Egyptians have had access to technologies beyond our grasp, or is there something deeper hidden in the sands of time? Our journey begins at the Serapeum of Saqqara, an ancient site where massive stone boxes, weighing over 70 tons, were carved with such precision that even modern engineers are baffled. These boxes, made from solid diorite, one of the hardest stones in the world, seem impossible to have been created with the tools of the ancient world. But what if these were not merely tombs for the dead? What if they were advanced technologies, allowing beings like Thoth to rejuvenate and transfer their consciousness into new bodies, effectively cheating death? Legend tells us that Thoth would leave his body in one of these boxes for 100 years, allowing it to recharge and heal, while his essence continued in another form. Could this explain why Thoth, the god of knowledge, was so revered across cultures and millennia? If these rejuvenation chambers are real, could they hold the secrets to eternal life? And was Thoth's quest for immortality unique, or did others throughout history share this secret? To find more answers, we turn to Mesopotamia, where the Sumerian Kings list records the reigns of rulers who lived for tens of thousands of years. Among them were the Anunnaki, demigods with both divine and earthly attributes. Some reigned for 28,000 years, others for 14,000 years, lifespans that defy all reason. What could possibly explain these impossibly long reigns? Did these rulers possess knowledge that could extend their lives, similar to Thoth? Or was their understanding of life and genetic engineering even more advanced? The mystery deepens when we examine the Great Flood, a cataclysmic event mentioned in both Sumerian and biblical texts. This disaster marked the end of the antediluvian kings who ruled before the flood. Afterward, kingship was reintroduced, but the reigns were far shorter. Some rulers lived for hundreds of years, but the era of reigns, stretching tens of thousands of years, was over. Why did this change occur? Could it be that the Anunnaki, who once ruled humanity, decided to limit the power of their successors? The texts suggest that these new rulers were still connected to the divine, but they were no longer immortal. Could the Great Flood have been a deliberate reset of human civilization to control human potential, preventing any individual from becoming too powerful? This leads us to an intriguing connection between ancient myth and modern science, genetic engineering. We know today that the human genome contains a unique anomaly, chromosome number 2, which appears to have been artificially fused. Geneticists estimate that this fusion occurred around 200,000 years ago, a timeline that aligns with the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki creating humans. Could this be evidence of genetic modification? Were humans deliberately created to serve the Anunnaki, not just as laborers but as subordinates? Could our very lifespan, about 120 years, have been engineered as a form of control? Modern science also tells us that telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes, limit how many times a cell can divide. Once they degrade, we age and eventually die. In the Bible, it states that man's days shall be 120 years. Could this be a reflection of deliberate genetic tampering by the gods? Was humanity created with a built-in expiration date, ensuring we never lived long enough to rediscover the ancient knowledge of our creators? One of the most compelling stories supporting this theory is the Tower of Babel. Humans, united in their ambition, began constructing a tower to reach the heavens. Their goal was to reclaim the lost knowledge of the gods. But their efforts were stopped by Yahweh, also known as Enlil in Sumerian texts, who feared humanity was advancing too quickly. Enlil intervened, confusing their languages and scattering them across the earth. More importantly, he shortened human lifespans, ensuring no single generation would live long enough to challenge the gods again. Could the Tower of Babel have been more than just a symbol of human pride? Was it an effort to reclaim our lost potential, one that was deliberately suppressed by the gods? Could it be that our entire history has been shaped by a hidden agenda, a grand design orchestrated by beings like the Anunnaki? Have these forces deliberately limited human development to prevent us from reaching our full potential? Are our lifespans, societal divisions, and languages all part of a long-term plan to keep humanity from rediscovering its ancient knowledge? As we piece together this ancient puzzle, we are left with unsettling questions. Were we created with limitations deliberately set to keep us subservient? Could it be that the division of cultures and the loss of ancient knowledge were part of a grand design to control human progress? Or is there a forgotten history, a legacy waiting to be rediscovered, that could unlock the mysteries of our origins, and perhaps our future? But what if these stories are not just myths? What if they are fragments of a larger puzzle, a puzzle that could offer profound insight into the hidden history of human existence? Let's return to the idea of genetic manipulation. Modern science has uncovered a unique anomaly in the human genome, chromosome 2, fused in a way that no other species on Earth exhibits. This genetic event is believed to have occurred around 200,000 years ago, a timeline eerily close to the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki creating humans for labor. If this fusion was deliberate, what does it mean for humanity? Could we have been engineered to serve the needs of an advanced race wielding power beyond our understanding? Here's the real question. Could we still be under this influence today? As we unlock the mysteries of the human genome, are we on the verge of rediscovering the knowledge hidden from us for thousands of years? Could telomeres, once thought to be a natural limitation, hold the key to extending life far beyond what we've believed is possible? And if so, are there still forces at play, preventing humanity from rising to its full potential? The truth may be hidden in ancient texts, unexplored history, or perhaps even encoded within our DNA. As we continue to explore these mysteries, the lines between myth, science, and reality will blur. The question remains, are we ready to discover the truth?
In many ways, it was the mystery of the Sphinx that really broke everything open. It brought everything to the public attention.
Now, what we're talking about for the people that are uninformed is the idea that some of the structures in ancient Egypt are far older than conventional wisdom or conventional modern-day archaeology, modern-day Egyptologists. They would like us to believe that all of this spawned from a very specific time period.
Dynastic Egypt, as we know it, going back to about 3000 BC, was really a legacy of what I call now an earlier cycle of civilization. As a geologist with a geological eye, this was not weathered by wind and sand. This was not desert erosion and weathering that I saw on the Sphinx, the body of the Sphinx, which is very difficult to tell because it's been heavily repaired and reworked, but particularly on the walls of what are known as the Sphinx enclosure. The Sphinx enclosure is important because it preserves a lot of the details. And if the audience has not been to Egypt, they should realize that when they carved the Sphinx, it's all solid bedrock. Only the head initially was above the ground surface. They carved down into the rock to free up the body, what I call the core body of the Sphinx.
For centuries, the Great Sphinx of Giza has stood as a silent guardian of Egypt's Giza Plateau, watching over the pyramids and the Nile. Its lion's body and human head have inspired myths, legends, and scholarly debate. But beneath its imposing form lies a deeper enigma. What secrets does the Sphinx hold? And who were the architects behind its creation? The rediscovery of the Sphinx happened long after its original construction. For much of its history, it was almost entirely buried under sand, with only its head visible. In 1817, Italian explorer Captain Giovanni Battista Caviglia led an early excavation, clearing some of the sand to reveal more of the body. Yet, there were no signs of entrances or hidden chambers. The major breakthrough came in the 1920s and 1930s, when French Egyptologist Émile Barrès conducted a more systematic excavation, fully exposing the Sphinx's body. Evidence of subterranean passages led to speculation about what lay beneath this ancient monument. Could this be the legendary Hall of Records, a hidden repository of ancient knowledge? In the 1970s and 1980s, modern technology like ground-penetrating radar and seismographs was used by archaeologists such as Dr. Mark Lehner and John Anthony West. Their findings revealed anomalies, hollow spaces beneath the Sphinx, raising new questions. What were these voids for? Were they ritual chambers, tombs, or something more? These discoveries have sparked the imagination of both scholars and the public. Many speculate about ancient knowledge hidden within these tunnels and chambers which remain largely unexplored. The idea of the Hall of Records, a fabled repository of wisdom from a pre-dynastic civilization, persists, though no solid evidence has confirmed its existence. As for the dimensions of these hidden spaces, some tunnels extend nearly 30 meters, with chambers reaching heights of 5 meters. The complexity and scale of these cavities astonish researchers, as their construction would have required precise engineering to avoid damaging the Sphinx above. Could a civilization over 4,000 years ago really have achieved this with primitive tools? One particularly mysterious feature is a metal hatch discovered on the Sphinx's head during a 20th century restoration. While some believe it's a modern addition for maintenance, others suggest more fantastical possibilities. Was this hatch a secret entry to hidden chambers? Could it be a relic of a lost technology designed by the builders for some unknown purpose? The question remains, who built the Sphinx, and how did they achieve such a perfect blend of form and function? The Sphinx is an impressive 240 feet long, 66 feet high, and 62 feet wide. Carved from a single mass of limestone bedrock, its weight is estimated at 200 tons. Its dimensions are comparable to a modern football field, and its height rivals a 6-story building. Given the rudimentary copper tools available to the ancient Egyptians, this achievement seems almost impossible. While scholars attribute the construction of the Sphinx to Pharaoh Khafre around 2500 BCE, some researchers believe it may be much older. evidence of water erosion suggests the Sphinx may have been exposed to heavy rainfall centuries ago, dating it to as early as 10,000 BCE. This theory challenges conventional timelines, suggesting the Sphinx was built by an even older, lost civilization. Could the Sphinx have been constructed by a forgotten culture, equipped with knowledge and technology far beyond what we attribute to the Egyptians? The discovery of hidden chambers beneath the monument only adds to this speculation. Were these spaces used to store ancient texts, or perhaps to honor deities through ritualistic practices? Yet, as we uncover more about the Sphinx, the techniques used to build it remain just as mysterious. How did these ancient builders move and shape the enormous stone blocks? Theories abound about the construction methods. It is believed that tens of thousands of laborers worked together, using wooden sledges and water-lubricated sand to transport massive stones across the desert. While modern experiments have shown this method is possible, some argue that a lost technology or unknown knowledge must have been involved. More speculative theories propose that the builders might have used advanced tools or sound resonance to manipulate the stone. The deeper we dig into the mysteries of the Sphinx, the more questions we uncover. But one thing is certain. As we continue to explore the hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx, the story of its creation grows ever more fascinating. History, it seems, is never truly set in stone. New discoveries and secrets lie waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not what the Sphinx reveals, but what it continues to keep hidden. In the shadow of the Sphinx, we are left wondering, who built this ancient monument and why? How did they achieve such precision, and what was the true purpose of the Sphinx and its surrounding megastructures? The most common theory is that the Sphinx was commissioned by Pharaoh Khafre, who also built the second largest pyramid on the Giza plateau. But some evidence calls this theory into question. Water erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body suggest it could be far older, possibly dating back to 10,000 BCE, when Egypt experienced heavier rainfall. If this is true, it would mean the Sphinx predates the Egyptian civilization by thousands of years, suggesting the existence of a forgotten culture. Could this lost civilization have been responsible for building the Sphinx? And if so, why are there no other traces of their presence? These questions fuel conspiracy theories that continue to captivate the imagination. One theory proposes that the Sphinx was built not as a tomb, but as an astronomical observatory. Its alignment with the constellation Leo during the vernal equinox suggests a connection to the stars, possibly serving as a marker of time or even a communication device with other worlds. Another theory suggests that the Sphinx and pyramids were part of an ancient energy system. Some believe the pyramids were energy generators, with the Sphinx acting as a control mechanism. The alignment of these structures with the Earth's magnetic field, combined with their proximity to the Nile, supports this idea. Though no concrete evidence backs this claim, it remains a compelling alternative explanation for their purpose. But the mysteries don't stop there. What other secrets might be hidden beneath the Sphinx? Beneath the Sphinx, unexplored chambers continue to spark speculation. Could these be the fabled Hall of Records? According to legend, this hidden vault contains the lost wisdom of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis. Though no one has conclusively discovered it, the search for the Hall of Records continues to intrigue explorers. And then, there are those who believe the Sphinx's builders had help from beyond this world. Extraterrestrial theories surrounding the Sphinx have persisted for decades. Some claim that the precision and scale of its construction are too advanced for the period, suggesting ancient Egyptians had assistance from extraterrestrial visitors. While this remains in the realm of science fiction, it highlights the fascination the Sphinx holds over the human imagination. Yet, even without the intervention of alien hands, the Sphinx and its surrounding pyramids are marvels of engineering. As we stand before the Sphinx, we are left with more questions than answers. What was its true purpose? Who were its builders? And why does it continue to mystify us after thousands of years? And so, the Great Sphinx of Giza remains, watching over the desert, guarding secrets that may never be fully understood. What lies beneath its pores, in hidden chambers, or in the past still waiting to be uncovered? Only time, and perhaps future discoveries, will reveal the answers. Until then, the Sphinx will keep its secrets, waiting patiently for the day when we are ready to understand what it truly has to tell us.